Hey guys, it's Ben. Just got done watching Ikarie XB1. It's a great film. I really liked it all the way through. Um, but I think it kind of got a little slow getting into. I'm not saying that. It's an older movie from 1963, so it's gonna be older. It's gonna be not as advanced as all the other ones, but in in all honesty, that's actually pretty good. I don't have any complaints about that. I think because of that, we kind of get to see where science fiction movies were in the very beginning and where they've kind of advanced from. So it was nice seeing that. But I watched the Czech version of this. I've yet to see the American version. I think I'll do that after I make the full review. But until then, here is the actual review. Hey guys, it's Ben Coleman with another movie review this week. And this week, as you can see, I'm wearing my Star Wars shirt because we are actually watching a movie that inspired the great George Lucas himself, Ikarie XB1. Now for many people who watch in America, this is called Voyage to the End of the Universe, which was directed by Jindřich Polák. Now this is filmed from the Czech, and it is actually has two versions. It has the version, of course, called Ikarie XB1, which is the Czech version, and then you have the American version called Voyage to the End of the Universe. This was a movie made in 1963 and actually has set the bar for a lot of what science fiction films are today. And you have directors such as Steven Spielberg and, of course, George Lucas directing these films, and it actually kind of makes sense. And I can see where they get their inspiration from. Now let's go into specifics. Now in terms of cinematography, I think it was pretty solid. It was done by Jan Callis, and I can tell throughout the cinematography was great. There's few instances in the beginning where I thought framing was off, but I don't really hold that against this film as it's an older film and there's a lot of mistakes, and this was one of the very few in this movie. Film editing, of course, was great. I mean, there's not much you could do in this time period, so it was a little hard to edit things, and you don't really have all those effects, but in a way that you don't really need them. This was a movie that kind of just set a concept, and it did a really good job. Unlike last week, as you know, I didn't like Captive State. That movie didn't have a lot of world building. I think that this movie actually does, and it does well to build onto it. There are a few instances that it does get pretty dragged on, and it takes a little bit to get into the movie, but as for setting a concept, it did a really good job. I mean, it's probably one of the best science fiction films out there, only because of the bar it's set for other films. I think cast did a great job. There's a lot of the cast members that I can't pronounce, but it's a whole array of cast members. There's no really one main character here. You have a bunch of people on this ship on a voyage, and it's kind of a drama in a way. It's science fiction drama. Now it's actually not listed as one, but I would say that it meets those standards as it's a science fiction drama film that I think a lot of filmmakers strive to model from. I mean, George Lucas, I can see from what I've watched of Star Wars, I can see that this is one of the inspirations. Now, sure, there's a lot of movies that inspire him. He even states that he gets a lot of his inspiration from samurai movies, science fiction movies such as Ikarie XB1, and a whole lot of different other films. Steven Spielberg, I can see where he would get his inspiration too. I mean, there's a lot of movies that I've seen that I can see where this movie kind of sets a high standard. Now, I will say I'm really glad I watched the Czech version and the original version, because the American version, from what I've researched, cuts about 26 minutes from the original movie and actually changes the story a lot based on how it's edited. So I'm kind of glad I watched the original version. I'm going to make sure I check out the original version after finishing up this review. And I will say, in terms of plot, it was a bit slow to get into. I won't say that it was too slow as I could keep my attention. Now, I know a lot of my friends just hate black and white movies, and that's fine. I mean, if that's not your alley, it's your preference. I think because I'm going into a profession where I love film so much, I was able to appreciate this film for what it is. And I think I can use this film as a standard for how I want to make my movies. I mean, you know it's a great film when these great minds such as Lucas and Spielberg look up to this film. It's not, they don't look up to it just because it's cool. No, they are inspired by it. It's a movie that really kind of set a bar in Hollywood. Now, while it wasn't an American film, it was something that Lucas and Spielberg were able to model from. I mean, even Disney, as much as I don't agree with a lot of stuff they do, they take stuff from past science fiction movies. Now, it's a lot of their own stuff. We wouldn't have Star Wars if not for a film like this. Now, all in all, this movie is great. And if you are a fan of foreign, older movies such as this, I highly recommend it. And I think I give it a thumbs up and probably an 8 out of 10. I'm not gonna go any higher because of course you have the plot issues, but I think without that, with the cinematography and while there was like little minor blips in the cinematography, it didn't hurt it at all. It didn't hurt my scoring at all. And I would probably watch it again if I could. I'll probably show it to my friends after this. So, but yes, I highly recommend it. I really want to hear what you all think and see if you agree that it has a lot of aspects that today's filmmakers do actually pay attention to. Now, that's all from me. Yes, I recommend that you watch Ikarie XB1 and, or as you would call it, Voyage to the End of the Universe. Either title works, but if you turn out watching the American edition, either version will work. I think while the story is different, I think it will still benefit you to watch this film. But that's all from me. I'll see you next week.